There were 6 of us on that porch, and only one of us was being put out into the cold. I was the one with the suitcase. My daughter had set it on the step, the way you set out a bag of clothes for the donation truck. Gently, almost kindly, already done with it. My eldest son stood in the doorway, counting a stack of bills against his thumb, the money from a house that still smelled like my husband's aftershave. He didn't look up. He said, "Be realistic, Ma. What are you going to do? Start over at 70? And behind him, in the warm yellow light of the kitchen that used to be mine, my children laughed. I want you to remember that laugh, because 2 years later, not one of them was laughing. And the reason why is the one thing: they were too busy counting money to notice me carry down the steps. Stay with me, and I'll show you exactly what it was. They thought they had divided everything that night: the house, the savings, the furniture, even the good china my mother carried over on a boat. They made their lists, and they signed their papers, and they believed they had read the whole of my life and found nothing left in it for them to want. There was a clause they never reached. There always is. If this is your first time sitting with me, this is the channel where the people everyone wrote off turn out to be the only ones who ever read the fine print. Take a moment to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're listening from tonight. I read them, and I'm always surprised how far this porch reaches. Now, let me take you back to the cold. My name is Marguerite. Everyone has always called me Margie, which I have never minded, because the people who love you should be allowed to make your name smaller and warmer in their mouths. I was 70 years old the night they put me out, and I had been a widow for exactly 5 months. For 35 years, I owned an alterations shop on Delacroix Street, a narrow place between a shoe repair and a bakery, with a brass bell on the door and a window full of pins. I took in hems and let out waistlines and rebuilt wedding gowns that brides cried over. But that is what people saw. What I actually did, every single day, was run a business. I made payroll. I signed a commercial lease and renegotiated it 4 times. I read every contract that came across my counter with the same care I gave a French seam, because I learned young that the cost of a thing and the price of a thing are 2 different numbers, and the difference between them is where you either survive or you don't. My hands know fabric the way some people know faces. I can run my thumb along a seam in the dark and tell you whether it was sewn by someone who cared. And there is a sound I have loved my whole life: the soft, double knock of an industrial sewing machine's foot pedal when you press it and let it up, press it and let it up. To me, that sound has only ever meant one thing. It means I am still working. It means I am still here. Hold on to that sound. You'll hear it again. I had 3 children. Theodore, my eldest, Theo, who I will not paint as a monster because he wasn't born one. Theo was the boy who used to fall asleep in the fitting room chair while I worked late, and he grew into a man who was drowning. A second mortgage he never told his wife about. A business partner who walked off with the deposits. By the time his father died, Theo owed money in 3 directions and could not see a way out that didn't run straight through me. I didn't know that yet. I only knew he had started speaking to me slowly, the way you speak to someone you've already decided can't keep up. My daughter, Coralie, took her cues from Theo, the way she always had. And my youngest, Jonah, said nothing at all. Jonah, who loved me and was a coward, which are not opposites, which is the cruelest thing I learned that year. He stood in that kitchen and watched and let it happen, and his silence had a weight to it I am still carrying. The house had been in my husband's name. We were of a generation that never thought to change it. So when he died, the law and my children agreed on a story: sell it, divide it, and find Ma a room somewhere. They all said somewhere. None of them ever said mine. It happened across 9 weeks, not in one night, though the porch is what I remember. First it was the appraiser, walking my rooms with a clipboard, while Theo trailed behind him, saying, "Motivated to sell," like a man who had practiced it. Then it was the papers, slid in front of me at that same kitchen table, Theo's finger tapping the line. "This just lets me handle the sale, Ma. You don't want to be dealing with all this at your age." I read every page. That is the part they never accounted for. They handed me documents the way you hand a child a coloring book, to keep them busy, and I read them like the contracts they were. I saw exactly what I was signing. I signed it anyway. Not because I didn't understand, because I understood something they didn't, and I needed them to keep believing I was simple a little while longer. The house sold in October. They gathered at the kitchen table to split it. 3 even stacks, and a 4th, smaller stack they slid toward me like a tip. Coralie had already arranged, she said, for me to stay temporarily with a cousin 2 towns over, a woman I had met perhaps twice. My suitcase was packed. They had packed it for me. There is a particular humiliation in being handed a bag someone else decided what to put in. And when I asked, quietly, once, whether I might not simply rent a small place near my old shop, Theo finally looked up. "With what, Ma? You're 70. You're done. Be realistic." And that word again, realistic, as if reality were a room they lived in and I was being asked, kindly, to wait outside. That was when Coralie laughed, the nervous laugh of someone agreeing with the strongest person present. Jonah looked at the floor. Here is what they didn't take. In the garage, under a paint-stiff drop cloth, sat my old industrial Juki, the machine I'd run my shop on for 30 years before I sold the storefront and semi-retired. When they cleared the house, they looked at it and saw scrap metal. Theo actually said, "We should get someone to haul that out." I asked if I could keep it, in the small voice I had been practicing, and they let me, the way you let a child keep a stone from the yard. Coralie even smiled, sentimental old Ma and her sewing machine. They did not know 3 things. They did not know that machine was worth more than the car Theo drove. They did not know that when I sold my storefront 11 years earlier, I had not spent the money. I had quietly placed it where no one in my family knew to look, because a woman who has watched men lose everything learns to keep one door no one else has a key to. And they did not know that the ledger, the client book, 35 years of names, every bride and every tailor and every boutique owner in 3 parishes lived in my head and in a leather ledger that went into that suitcase between 2 folded sweaters. I carried my whole business down those steps, and they thought they were watching me leave with nothing. I made 1 phone call that night from the cousin's spare room, and what I set in motion was so much quieter and so much larger than revenge. Within a month, I stopped staying with the cousin. I rented a single room above a dry cleaner 4 blocks from my old street. 1 window, a hot plate, and enough floor for the Juki, and a cutting table I built from a door laid across 2 filing cabinets. The first night I threaded that machine in a room that smelled of other people's laundry, I sat down, set my foot on the pedal, and pressed. Press and let up. Press and let up. That sound, in that bare room, I am not ashamed to tell you I cried then, not for the house, not for my children, but because the sound meant I was still here. Then I dried my face and I started taking in work. I did not call my children. That is the discipline most people miss. I did not call to prove anything, because the work of proving was happening with my hands, and a thing you have to announce isn't finished yet. I let them believe I was at the cousin's, sad and folded away. Theo, I would later learn, told people I was being taken care of. He believed it. It cost him nothing to believe it. I started with the ledger, 35 years of names. I wrote letters, real letters, on paper, in my own hand, to the boutiques and the bridal shops and the 2 funeral homes that had always trusted me with the delicate work no one else would touch. I am back, the letters said. I am taking a limited number of clients. The same hands. I sent 40 of them. I had 31 answers inside 2 weeks. There is a kind of capital that does not show up in a will, and my children had inherited none of it, because you cannot inherit 35 years of doing what you said you'd do. By spring, I had more work than one room could hold. A boutique on Magazine Street, the kind of shop that sends gowns to women who do not ask the price, took one look at a reconstruction I'd done on a 1940s silk and asked if I would take their alterations exclusively. I sat in their bright back office, 70 years old, in the same cardigan I'd worn to the porch, and I did the arithmetic the way I'd done it my whole life. The cost of a thing and the price of a thing. I knew, sitting there, that I was about to stop renting one room. I did not smile. I have never trusted my own face when the numbers are still warm. Here is the turn, and it is not the one you think. It was not a triumph. It was a phone call. In May, from Jonah, my silent son, the coward I loved. He did not know about the boutique. He did not know about the room or the letters. He called because Theo was in trouble, the real kind. The house money was gone, swallowed by the debts I never knew about, the second mortgage, the partner, and Theo had borrowed against money he didn't have, and now men he owed were not being patient. Jonah was crying. He said, "Ma, I should have said something. That night, I should have said something." And I want to be honest with you about what I felt, because this channel has never traded in clean feelings. I did not feel vindicated. I felt the floor tilt, because the same arithmetic that had saved me told me, instantly, exactly how much it would take to pull Theo out, and told me, just as fast, that I could afford it. The woman they put on the porch could now, 8 months later, write the check that saved the son who put her there. That is not a victory. That is a trap, with no good door in it, and I walked the rest of that year looking for one. There was one person who had never written me off. Coralie's girl, Simone, 16, sharp, embarrassed by her whole family in the way that only a good teenager can be. Simone found my room in February, all on her own. She'd asked the dry cleaner downstairs whether an old lady with a sewing machine lived up the back stairs, and she climbed them with a torn jacket as her excuse. She kept coming back. She'd sit on my cutting table and do her homework while the dukey knocked away, and she was the only one in my family who ever saw the new life while it was still being stitched together. She's the reason this story doesn't end the way the porch deserved. Remember her? By summer, the boutique work and the bridal contracts had made me something I had never been even in my best years on Delacroix Street. Not rich, but solid. The kind of solid that doesn't flinch when the phone rings. I took a long lease on a corner space with good light and a window for pins, and I had a sign painted, my name on the glass. And the week before it went up, Theo's trouble came to a head, and Jonah asked me, plainly, the question the whole year had been bending toward. Would I help him? Would I save Theo? I sat with that for 3 nights, pressed the pedal, and let it up. I'll tell you what I decided, and what it cost, and why I am still not sure I was right. In September, 2 years almost to the day from the porch, the bell rang on my new shop, and Coralie walked in. She did not know it was mine. She had been sent by the Magazine Street boutique, the very one I worked with, because her own daughter Simone was getting an award and needed a dress altered fast, and the boutique had said, "There's only one person in this city we trust with a rush like this." They sent my daughter to me, without either of us knowing. Coralie crossed half my shop before she looked up from the garment bag and saw my face, and then my name on the wall behind me, and I watched 2 years rearrange themselves in her eyes all at once. She didn't recognize the life. That is the literal truth of the title I never planned to earn. She stood in a shop with my name on the door, surrounded by gowns worth more than the house they sold, and she could not reconcile it with the old woman she'd packed a suitcase for. "Ma," she said, "just that. And God help me, I took the garment bag from her hands, because the dress was for Simone, and Simone had climbed my back stairs all winter, and the dress was not Coralie's to ruin. I had already made my decision about Theo by then. I had paid the debt, not all of it, and not to him. I am not a fool, and a check handed to a drowning man is a check handed to the water. I paid it to the men he owed, directly, with conditions, through a lawyer, the way you fix a garment from the inside where the stitches won't show. Theo kept his knees unbroken and his marriage intact, and to this day does not fully know how close it came or exactly who closed the gap. I did not tell him. I did not want the thing telling him would have made me someone owed. And that is the ambiguity I promised you, the one with no clean flaw. Because I will be honest, I did not save Theo out of forgiveness. I am not sure I have forgiven him, even now. I saved him because I could, and because not saving him would have made me into the kind of person who lets a son drown to prove a point, and I refused to let the porch turn me into that. I protected my own dignity more than I rescued his. I want you to sit in that with me, because it is true, and the easy version where I open my arms and weep would be a lie, and you did not come here for lies. Here is the price of the thing. Coralie and I speak now, carefully, the way you handle a fabric that has already torn once. Theo and I do not, much. He sent a short message at Christmas. I sent a shorter one back. Jonah comes to the shop on Sundays, and we don't talk about the porch, and his guilt sits in the chair with us like a fourth person, and I have stopped trying to send it away. I got my life back, larger than before. I did not get my family back, not really, not whole. Some seams, once you've cut them, never lie flat again, no matter how clean the repair. Anyone who has rebuilt after a betrayal already knows this. The work is real, and the warmth doesn't fully come back, and both of those things are true at once. What I kept was the sound. Every morning I unlock the door, set my foot on the pedal, and press. Press and let up. I am still here. They could take the house, because the house was never the thing. They could not take the thing they called junk, because the thing they called junk was me. Simone wore the dress. She found me afterward, still in it, and she said the only thing anyone in my family has said in 2 years that I let all the way in. She said, "You were never the one who needed taking care of." No, I never was. But here is what I have learned, and it is the reason I sit on this porch with you at all. I survived because of things I had done quietly, years before I needed them. The money I tucked away where no one could reach it. The contracts I read instead of signing blind. The skill no one could vote me out of. I was protected because the older Margie had thought to protect me. And most people, most good and trusting people, never get told how to do that until it is too late. So I wrote it down. Everything I did to make sure I could never be put out on a porch with nothing. How to keep your money where family can't quietly move it. How to hold your legal standing and your independence as you age. The documents that matter, and the questions to ask a real attorney in your own state. It's a short, plain guide. It is not legal advice, and it does not pretend to be. It is the armor I wish someone had handed me at 60 instead of 70. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. If tonight's story put a cold feeling in your chest, that feeling is information. Use it. I'll be here next time, on the porch, with the light on. Subscribe so you don't miss who knocks. And remember, there is always one last clause, and it belongs to the person they stopped reading.